Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Look, I saw a headline. I need to share it with you. It is about the 3M lawsuit and the $6 billion offer. There's a lot of questions surrounding it. This is I wasn't going to do another video, but I saw this and I have to share it. So I'm going to read you the headline. You're going to see why I'm doing this video. And hang on through this because there could be some real pertinent information for you. It's one of those things where you need to know what options you have. So here's the headline. 3M's $6 billion earplug accord risks failure if veterans reject deal. If veterans reject deal. Okay, that's the big part. That's the part that caught my attention. So does that mean that there's options? Does that mean that the veterans as a whole or veterans individually can go, you know what, that's not good for me. I'm moving on. I'm going to reject that deal, and now what can I do? So this is huge, right? Or at least the title is. I found this on Bloomberg, and I wanted to read it to you, go through it. Now remember, $6 billion sounds like a tremendous amount of money, but when you take about, right, I don't know the exact number, about 300,000 veterans who are involved in this mass tort, you take $6 billion, now you have to account for lawyer fees, right? Those aren't cheap. It's going to probably, I have no clue. I haven't gotten the exact numbers, but I would venture to guess, based on my own personal experiences in life, it's probably going to be somewhere between 33 1/3 and 50% of the total. So let's err on the side of, damn, at 50%. So now you got $3 billion. That ate that up real quick. Now you divide that over the 300,000. And it's not much. You're looking at, maybe $10,000 each, right? Now, on top of that, you have to throw in the cascading kind of payout that's going to be created, meaning that the person who has minor tinnitus, right, is going to get a very small amount, less than the average of $10,000, and then the person who has major hearing loss, tinnitus, migraine headaches, depression, all these other things that are surrounding it, insomnia, and they have all that documented, is going to get a much higher amount than the 10,000, right? And then the 10,000 will be in the middle somewhere. So what does that mean you're going to get? I don't know. So what we want to do here is see what kind of options there are. It's still going to be months before anything really starts to pan out as far as any sort of payments and dollar figures and who gets what and slicing and dicing. So let me jump into it now. I'm going to read you this and we're going to go from there. I'll kind of give you my 2 cents along the way. So again, the headline, 3M $6 billion earplug accord risks failure if veterans reject deal. Thousands per veteran may not be enough giving hearing loss. Next bullet, injured ex-service members won $265 million in early trials. Now, for those that have been following this, there have been what they call bellwether trials along the way. Basically, it's the company, 3M, and the veterans, right, involved in the mass tort, all the different lawyer firms, getting a feel for whether or not this is going to be advantageous and what it's going to kind of look like. And it was about, I don't remember the numbers, like a 30-70 split or a 35-65 split to the veterans winning those bellwether trials. And in those bellwether trials, and I don't even remember how many there were, I don't know, 15 or something. There was a few. There wasn't hundreds. Okay, there was in the teens probably. And of those bellwether trials, collectively, remember, somewhere around 15, I don't remember the number, the veterans won $265 million individually. Well, collectively, and then, divvied out. So, one may have won $5 million, another may have won $22 million, right? So that's an interesting twist. So let's jump into it a little further. It says here, 3M companies $6 billion settlement of lawsuits accusing the company of selling defective combat earplugs to the U.S. military could fall apart if enough veterans reject the deal as inadequate for their injuries. Didn't know that, did you? No, here we go. Given 250,000 or so active claims of hearing loss, 3M has identified the accord works out to about 24,000 a head. Now, I don't know if that's accounting for, I don't have my calculator. So that's what that's the cost per person if it's around 250,000 and there's 6 billion per person payout, $24,000 a head. Now, flash back to the people that were running those bellwether trials, or the veterans involved in those bellwether trials winning millions of dollars. I think I saw one that, it was around like the lowest one I saw was somewhere maybe around like the $3 or $4 million mark. So about $24,000 a head, and would be even less after court costs and legal fees. So cut that in half, right? So now you're looking at 12. And what did I say? 10. And I'd use 10 on a 300,000 figure. So that may not be enough to make up for life-altering injuries service members say they suffered after the earplugs failed to protect them from the roar of heavy artillery and tanks and mortars and everything else, right? So anyway, stick with me because this is a really important article. So if you're still on, stick with me. 3M itself can walk away from the pact if it doesn't get the support of at least 98% of claimants eligible for compensation. But that would force the company back to the negotiation table, right? And leave it facing hundreds of thousands of lawsuits and formidably array of jury trials. The very outcome is sought to avoid by striking the deal. Under the terms of the settlement, which Bloomberg reported Sunday and 3M announced Tuesday, the plaintiffs will have about 6 months to decide whether to accept a payout under the accord, opt out of the deal, to demand a trial, or drop their lawsuit, according to court filings. The lawsuits have been consolidated in a multi-district litigation case in federal court in Pensacola, Florida, one of the biggest MDLs in U.S. history, multi-district litigation. Getting to 98%. Carl Tobias, a University of Richmond professor who teaches product liability law, finds the settlement amount low. Tobias noted that in a recent trial over the earplugs, a Florida jury last year ordered the company to pay a U.S. Army veteran $77.5 million in damages. Faced with a settlement payout in the thousands of dollars, veterans may decide to take their chances at trial. 3M lost 10 of 16. There you go. There's the number, 16. They lost 10 of 16 early cases tried. That's those bellwether cases. And the juries awarded the plaintiffs a total of $265 million. So, just saying, that's a lot. Elizabeth Birch, a University of Georgia law professor who specializes in multi-district litigation, said she thinks a bigger payout would have improved the deal's likely opt-in rate. $6 billion sounds like a lot of money, she said, but it's really not, especially for the more serious cases. Hang on with me if you're still on here. Hang on. Analysts at Barclays had pledged the company's potential liability at about $8 billion. Bloomberg Intelligence said it could range from $4.5 billion to as much as $9.5 billion. In announcing the deal, 3M resolved a major source of uncertainty for investors who have watched its market value decline by more than half since 2019 amid liability from the Earplug claims and the PFAS, those forever chemicals, right? So they got two different issues going on, 3M. The company's shares closed up 1.4% on Tuesday when it announced the pact, following a gain of 1.5% on Monday. The shares closed down 1.1% on Wednesday. So this is just telling us the ups and downs. Basically, the company's stock was on a downward trend with all the uncertainty. Once the deal was struck, now the uncertainty is cleared up and there's a path forward. So the stocks had started to go up. I'm scrolling down here through this a little bit. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go back to right here, past some of that stuff. So 3M Chief Legal Affairs Officer Kevin Rhodes said on a conference call with analysts Tuesday that the parties involved intend to meet or exceed the 98% threshold. The settlement agreement is structured to promote claimants' participation, 3M said in a statement then. In terms of how much each plaintiff receives under the agreement, the exact amount will depend on the number of claimants that decide to participate in the agreement. Under the settlement terms, veterans who suffered the most from hearing-related afflictions will be eligible for a recovery greater than the average payout. Drawn from an extraordinary injury fund. I don't know what that is. So the cheap seats, Brian, I can't even say the name, Alistock, a Florida-based lawyer for the Earplug plaintiffs, predicted the settlement would reach the 98% threshold and said he was proud of the deal. He said he and other plaintiff lawyers leading the talks sought to get real value for their clients without pushing the company into bankruptcy, which could lessen or even wipe out the payments. Chris Seeger, another of the leading plaintiff's attorneys, called criticism to the sum simplistic. It's easy to make these predictions from the cheap seats when you don't have any clients who are depending on you to deliver some justice for their injuries, especially from a company facing such financial challenges, he said. So remember, in the background, you have the Forever Chemicals lawsuit that's also happening, which is potentially going to be even higher than the Earplug. Some veteran groups themselves cheered the settlement. The Enlisted Association of the National Guard of the United States, which represents 5.5 million veterans, and the Military Order of the Purple Heart, which advocates for more than 45,000 wounded veterans, are both backing the deal, saying it provides relief for former service members grappling with chronic ailments from their years on the battlefield. A key piece of the settlement still must be approved by the U.S. District Judge M. Casey Rogers in Pensacola, who will hold a fairness hearing on the use of 3M stock for $1 billion of the payout. 3M can substitute cash for those shares if necessary. On Tuesday, Rogers ordered the plaintiff's lawyers to disclose any outside investors backing the suits, saying she wants to ensure that the claimants aren't being exploited by predatory lending practices. The Earplug case is in regard to 3M Products Liability Litigation 19 MD 2885 U.S. District Court, Northern District of Florida, Pensacola. That concludes the video. What's the big nugget? The big nugget is that at some point you are going to be given an opportunity to accept the deal, whatever it is. Hey, we're going to give you $7,000. Do you accept it or not? Okay, you're going to get that opportunity. If you accept it, you are counting toward the 98% that's needed to make that deal come to fruition. Or you can reject it and say, I am taking 3M to court myself, and I'm going to roll the dice and see if I can get $1 million, $2 million. $3 million, $7 million, $10 million, whatever. Or lose, right? You could lose. Or you can just drop it and say, screw it, I don't even want anything, which probably isn't going to happen. So of the three choices, two things are likely, well, will most likely happen, right? People are either going to say, screw it, yeah, I'll take it. I need the 7 grand, 8 grand, 10 grand, whatever it is. Or they're going to say, I don't need it that bad. I'm surviving, and I'm willing to bet that money that I can go win in court and get more. This is really important information for those with some real issues, right? From those earplugs, right? So if you have minor tinnitus and you had the earplugs issued to you for 3 days, and you were a cook, we'll just say, stateside, and you got issued those earplugs and it was in the time frame, probably don't go to court, right? Because you'll probably lose. But if you were in theater and you were a mortarman or artillery person, or even probably a 5-ton or higher level truck, something loud that could get to you, maybe you got a chance. So anyway, with that, I wanted to get this out to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.